right, guys, welcome. Too strong. All right, guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness, and welcome to my review for The Burning. This one came out in 1981. It is starring Lou David, Brian Backer, and Brian Matthews, and was directed by Tony May Lamb. So, I have always had an extreme soft spot for 80s fucking schlock. There's no other way to say it, man. I have always had a soft spot for just hammy, cheesy, sometimes just straight up bad slasher flicks. And when I watch these movies, I grade them on a different scale. Obviously, the history. And if you don't, brief, little rundown. Halloween blows up, big, massive deal. Then Friday the 13th comes out, blows up the genre even more. And, suddenly all these film producers are like, fuck, we gotta hop on this train, baby. And as a result, you get a decade with a fuck ton of slasher films, which is good news for me. Unfortunately, there are a lot of these slasher films that are strictly for the sake of making money, which I understand. I get it. This is a business at the end of the day. It's the film business. It's not purely just for passion. We aim to make money. But when I watch one of these films, obviously going in, I know it's going to be a little hammy, going to be a little corny, a little stupid. But is the passion there? Is the love there? And once you've been watching this shit long enough, you can tell when it's there and when it's not. And I gotta say, man, The Burning has flaws, obviously, but fuck's sake, man. This is an awesome slasher flick. I adore this one. I watched this back in the Wild West days of YouTube, back when you can just fucking upload pretty much anything. And I watched it there, absolutely loved it. I've seen it a couple times since, and I fucking love it, man. And I think one of the things that really makes this film stand out from some of its peers in this time period is the fact that, one of the things I hear critiqued a lot about these movies, and rightfully so, is the character development. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, these characters are super in-depth and we just get to learn a whole lot about them. That's not the case. But one big advantage that this film has for me is the fact that it really does feel like a fucking teenage raunchy comedy for like a majority of the beginning of it. Obviously, you have a guy stabbing a hooker with scissors at the beginning of it, so there are some moments that don't necessarily feel like that. But, when you see these kids, some of them very old looking college kids, very, very aged up, you get what you can get, right? But anyways, you see these guys and girls that are partying at this camp, and it really does give off almost a Porky's vibe. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically American Pie before American Pie. And I absolutely adore that movie. There are aspects of that film that have aged like fucking milk. Same thing with this one, The Burning. But man, I got a real soft spot for that film. And if you can even remind me of that, sort of teenage romp fucking genre of comedy, you got some points with me. And this film does a very, very good job of that. And it also does help a lot with the characters. And yeah, there might not be the most in-depth people in the world, very basic, very one-dimensional, but just having them all give pretty solid performances. I didn't really get anything that was too awful, again, for, what we're talking about here. But, nothing was abysmal. And just having those solid enough performances and having just this vibe of this raunchy 80s teen comedy really helped out getting at least somewhat invested in these characters. And speaking of Porky's, obviously the infamous scene from that movie is when they fucking peep at the girls when they're showering and shit, which is, again, I am aware that movie has aged like milk, but it is what it is. Anyways, but we get something at least somewhat similar to that here with Alfie, our main character, who is this very nerdy, outcast sort of kid. Kind of a weirdo. Looks like he is 28 years old. Like, the actor just does not look like the age he is intended. Not really, none of them do. Not none of them. There are, Woodstock is pretty good as far as, like, the actor's age compared to what he's actually supposed to be in the film. But man, some of them, it's rough. And Alfie is one of the shining ones. Glazer as well. There's some 30-year-old looking men in this movie that are not supposed to be. But yeah, this nerdy kid, and he is getting bullied very viciously by this fucking piece of shit named Glazer. Just an irredeemable asshole. And he fucking tries to get back at him. And how do you get back at Glazer? Do you pull some innocent prank? Do you prop a bucket of water up on a door and wait for him to come through? No. Do you put a thumbtack on the chair he's about to sit in? No. Let's sneak into the showers where this girl that Glazer is very persistently pursuing. Let's sneak in there and let's try to scare her while she's butt-ass naked in this fucking shower, you creep. Alfie's supposed to be the protagonist of the film, and they do an okay job at making you feel some sort of sympathy for him. Fuck off. Dude, it's irredeemable. You blatantly, like, what were you gonna do? Boo! Like, what the it's so dumb. And not only is Alfie a fucking weirdo, Todd, who I'm to believe is like the head lead counselor of this camp, he chews his ass out, and rightfully fucking so. You just snuck into the ladies' shower and scared the shit out of this girl. Yeah, but then you turn around to your, wife, girlfriend, camp counselor lady, your partner or whatever, and you're like, oh, give the kid a break. He's just, he's misunderstood. Fuck you, dude. This dude just... Hey, different time, I guess. Whatever. But yeah, Alfie's a fucking weirdo, man. I also love that, like, he's, when he's getting chewed out by Todd, he blatantly is like, I don't have any friends. Nobody likes me here. Yada, yada, yada. He's just bitching about that. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the very next scene, we have our other, like, male cast members who are straight up helping him out and encouraging him and, like, being his friend. So, yeah, Alfie's just a fucking dickhead, dude. I don't have any friends. But my disdain for Alfie aside, I think all the other characters are serviceable. Again, you're not going to get a whole lot of anything with them. But to me, where this film really stands out as far as, characters, is Cropsy, dude. The villain of the movie, the slasher of the film, hence the term slasher film. Just a fucking gnarly villain. I love the idea of this prank gone wrong on this fucking camp caretaker who just, they put a fucking flame. This is the very beginning of the movie. They put that fucking flaming skull covered in worms and shit. I'm like, oh, there's plenty of shit I could say. Like, where the fuck did they get that? It looks like it was like from either it's like a legit cadaver or it's a fucking just plastic bullshit skull that they propped up to, they had worms crawling all inside of it and shit. But I'm like, man, like, how the fuck, where'd you get that thing, man? Like, fuck. And they have candles lit inside of its head, which Cropsy ends up kicking onto his bed and he gets set on fire. And we hear these kids, when they're getting ready to pull this prank that would end up going wrong, you hear them like, oh, he's had this coming and he's gonna fucking pay and all this. And I'm like, what the fuck did he do? Like, what did Cropsy do to deserve this? I mean, later on, it's revealed by Todd, who is also revealed to be one of the kids that pulled this prank years ago. Even though I don't think the age really lines up, because I was supposed to be 5 years prior, and he looks like he's pushing mid-30. I don't fucking, whatever. But, he fucking, reveals that Cropsy was an alcoholic, caretaker, and that he was a sadist. And so he would, like, fuck with kids and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, he seems like a shithead, but you didn't outright say that, he was, like, beating kids up or fucking, God forbid, anything worse. Like, you didn't really say anything like that. You just said he liked to, like, pull, like, mean-spirited pranks on the kids and shit. And I guess this was just their way of getting back at him. So, maybe, eye for an eye and just shit went wrong. But fuck, man, like, they obviously they didn't intend for him to get horribly burned. But I wish they would have done a little better job of, like, actually explaining what the fuck Cropsy did to deserve this. Like, it's not like they just didn't say anything at all, and these kids were just being shitheads. Like, it seems like he did deserve it to some extent, but, like, why? I'd like to know. That's all. But yeah, so Cropsy gets horribly fucking burned. He's in this intensive care unit. He's in this fucking tent. And I love this scene where he fucking, his arm falls out of the tent. He grabs this fucking doctor and he's squeezing his fucking arm and shit. And then that's where we get our title card. And it's then explained via voiceovers and shit once he's getting wheeled out of the hospital that the skin grafts they tried to give him went horribly wrong. And we see the results of that towards the end of the film. I mean, goddamn, you couldn't have done at least a little better job, man. Like, at that point, man, fuck, just leave me like the way I am. Shit, I'll just stay in the hospital the rest of my life. I don't know. I mean, fuck, he was probably looking pretty fucked up to have that bad of a skin graft surgery. And my thing is, like, it seemed like he was fully burned. So where are you going to get this? I mean, maybe they got it from a donor or whatever. I don't fucking know. But again, I'm analyzing this movie way too fucking much. I've just seen it enough times where I'm like, Anyway, so he's getting wheeled out of the hospital, and they're like, hey, just make sure you don't hold any grudge towards these kids, and you don't, it was an accident, and it's best to just live your life, and it'll take time to adjust, but you'll get there. And this whole time, Cropsy's just in the back of his head like, no, I'm gonna kill people. I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed off. And rightfully so, maybe not to the extent of going out and killing people, but I understand the anger. These fucking shithead kids are responsible for my skin being gone. Like, yeah, I'd be kind of upset too. But he goes out and he just immediately starts killing, man. He gets this hooker. She takes him up to her place, which I don't, I'm very, very unfamiliar. That almost makes it sound like I'm really somewhat familiar. I am not familiar at all with, the process of hiring a prostitute and shit like that. So, but to the best of my knowledge, that seems super out of the ordinary for a hooker to bring her client to her place. That seems like kind of like an irresponsible move, because then you can get some motherfuckers being stalkery and shit, and just be yeah. But she doesn't really have to worry about that with Cropsy, because he just fucking kills her straight away. He just has no interest in sex or anything, probably because there's just nothing there to really do anything with at this point. Plus, if I'm on a murderous rampage, getting laid is going to be the last thing on my mind. But yeah, kills her. Then he heads back to camp. It's not the same camp. I think the camp he was burned at was Camp Blackwood. And this one is Camp Clearwater? I want to say it's Clearwater. I can't remember. But he ends up heading back there. I imagine it's just the same fucking place he worked before, and it's just renamed and shit. Yeah, man, he goes there to commence the killing, and yeah, man, we get this American Pie, Porky's-esque movie that just divulges so drastically into a slasher. Obviously, you know, there's sprinklings of it in the beginning and shit, but I just love the tone of this film and just how it immediately goes fucking nuts. Now, obviously, I'm being very positive. We'll also sprinkling in some problems here and there, but one thing I am not very fond of with this film is the fact that there are a lot of survivors in this movie. And I know that's a morbid thing to say, but it's a slasher film, for fuck's sake, man. I want to see people, I want to see the body count, man. I want to see a high fucking body count. And don't get me wrong, people die in the movie. People fucking die in this movie. But, you know, you got this camp full of motherfuckers. I mean, like, this is a full-blown summer camp. This ain't no Friday the 13th where it's like they're getting ready to open shit up. No, it's open and ready for business, baby. They're full at the max capacity when they're at the mess hall and shit. There's a shit ton of people here. And, you know, realistically, I get it. You can only fit so much in a runtime. And the main characters are already one-dimensional as it is. I understand not wanting to, you know, fit a whole bunch more people into that. And they do end up getting isolated later on when the older kids go on a canoe trip and they set up camp only to have their fucking canoes cut from the dock, obviously by Cropsy. And that kind of leads to the isolation and the lowered body count. But, you know, I can't get everything I want, right? But during this time of these kids being, you know, stuck at this fucking lake with no real way of leaving, we do get some memorable shit here. Obviously, you know, a Karen getting her throat fucking slashed in the woods. The fucking raft kill, which we'll get to later on. They build this raft to go look for canoes. And another thing I like about Cropsy is he's fucking smart, man. Like, you could tell he blatantly put that fucking canoe right out in the lake just for them to fucking, you know, come up, and he bodied those motherfuckers. We'll get to that later on. But, yeah, man, so just some really memorable, cool slasher shit. Oh, I didn't even mention his fucking main weapon that he uses is this big-ass fucking pair of garden shears. Fuck yeah, dude. That is such a cool, unique fucking weapon that I know... Oh, someone could say it in the comments. I know there was a video game, like a horror game, where the fucking main villain had this cartoonishly large pair of garden shears. And I'm not going to act like it's just never been used in a horror movie before or since. But I don't know, man. There's something with that large fucking trench coat and those fucking garden shears. Obviously, it's my favorite shot of the film where he shoots up out of that water and kills those kids on that fucking raft. Just that shot of him with those shears, you know, it's fucking awesome, man. Really, really good stuff. And also this scene, and it's just so... This is really where, you know, obviously we've been having horror shit up until this point, but, like, you can tell shit really does hit the fan where, you know, they're just waiting for these kids to get back that went out on this raft. And you just see this, like, fucking, not empty, because the kids are still laying on the fucking thing, but it just slowly floats back to where the rest of the campers and the counselor is. And, you know, the female counselor, I can't remember her name, but she ends up swimming out to the fucking raft. And she gets there and she starts screaming. She pulls this fucking severed arm. I mean, Cropsy murdered the fuck out of those kids, dude. We barely, you know, as brutal as that scene is, we barely got a glimpse of it, dude. He fucked those kids up. And, you know, she pulls off this fucking arm. It looks like it was probably Eddie's arm. She fucking pulls that off. And Woodstock. I don't know how much sense this makes, but somehow Woodstock was just, maybe he was tied to the fucking raft like a buoy or something, and he just fucking floats up. He's all waterlogged and cut up and shit. It's like, oh my god. Absolutely crazy scene. And then after that, I love the time that, these guys in this film took to really show just how devastating this is for these kids. I mean, those were friends on that raft, and these kids just sitting there and they're crying, and there's some of them are in shock and they're distraught and they're just fucked up about this, man. Really, really good attention to detail, and not just having them be like, "Uh-oh, that's not good. What are we gonna do now?" Like, they really do take time to, show how fucked up this situation is. And then when she fucking goes back with the rest of the campers, and they have to take the same fucking raft that their fucking friends just died on. And it's like, yeah, and I think about the detail of that, and it's like, ugh, God, who's going to clean that up? Who's going to take those fucking bodies off? You're not going to get it all the way clean in the time that you have to fucking do this. Just terrible, terrible shit to think about. But very entertaining to watch, because I'm a sick fucker. Anyways, so they do end up getting back to camp. Meanwhile, and this kind of brings us to the end of the film, Alfie, I forget why he ran off in the woods, probably just to go be a fucking weirdo more. But no, he does end up getting chased down by Cropsy, and Todd goes to rescue him. And this is where we get the big reveal. Number one, that Todd was one of the pranksters that led Cropsy to being the way that he is and looking all fucked up and all that stuff. We also get to look at Cropsy, and we get to see, what these fucking poor campers have been seeing this whole fucking movie. And this just awful fucking burnt skin and this botched fucking skin graft that they gave this fucking guy, and he's wearing a trench coat, because I can't imagine the rest of him looks very good either. But I do love the originality. It's not like it's completely original, but I love the fact that we have a killer who is fucking hideous, just absolutely irredeemably disgusting. If there's any burn victims watching my channel, by the way, I am sorry, because I just was very insensitive about that. But anyway, so yeah, he's not a very good-looking person, and he doesn't cover his face up. He doesn't bother with a mask or with a bag over his head or anything. He's just like, well, this is the fucking way I am now, and I'm pissed off about it, so I'm gonna kill people. But yeah, for actual burn victims, shout out. Don't unsubscribe. Anyways, so yeah, man, we get this scuffle. Cropsy has a fucking flamethrower, which is really fucking cool, and I kind of wish he used that for at least one actual kill in the movie. That would have been fucking rad. But, he has it now, and he tries to burn these fuckers alive. But Alfie ends up stabbing him in the back. They try to leave. Obviously, the killer's not dead, because that's an 80s slasher flick. And he, once again, Cropsy gives one last-ditch effort to try and kill these fucks. But Todd just moves Alfie out of the way and just buries this fucking axe right in the Cropsy's face. I'm like, holy shit. Oh my god. Honestly, one of the most impressive visual effects of the fucking movie. He just fucking slams that thing into him, dude. It's crazy. So much so that it pins him to the fucking pillar behind him. And, Alfie fucking grabs that flamethrower and just torches that motherfucker. So, you would think, man, Cropsy's fucking dead. He is dead as a goddamn doorknob. He is done. But in the ending scene of the fucking movie, where another group of campers is talking about, telling the spooky story of Cropsy. They say, you know, the camp counselor in that group says that Cropsy's body was never found. Which, that ending scene is interesting to me. Obviously, it's just supposed to be this spooky, like, ooh, he's still out there type thing. But it is interesting to me. So is that camp counselor supposed to be one of the surviving kids from that camp that the burning movie took place? Like, is that supposed to be what this is, and this is someone in the future? That's what I would think. You know, if it seems like he told the story of the events of this movie, so that's what whatever. But again, I might be putting too much thought into it, but I would imagine that's what it is. And if so, why didn't we get a fucking sequel? There's no Burning 2, man. Of all the generations, all the decades to not have a fucking sequel. You know, all the fucking 80s horror films had sequels. Not all of them, but a fucking good amount of them. And I definitely think that this had some mileage to be a franchise, but for whatever reason, it just never happened. And, you know, never say never. Maybe they do something, you know, a couple of years from now. I don't know why you would at this point, but stranger things have happened. Yeah, it sucks, because this is a fucking really fun, cool slasher flick, and I really do think, you know, when people are like, oh, well, he got an axe to the face, and he was fuck off. It's a fucking 80s slasher film. They can do whatever they want. And plus, I think it would be cool to have this guy fucking running around, botched skin graft, and just a fucking big old axe wound in his face. Maybe he's reburned from the first event, from the events of this film. There's so many things you could do with it, and they just kind of dropped the ball, which sucks. But we do have The Burning, the original, and that is a slasher film that I will continue to cherish from here on out, man. Great fucking slasher flick. If you have not seen it, I know I just spoiled the whole fucking thing, but I still recommend you go out and watch it, and that'll do it for the review section of the video. But you know what we gotta do now, baby. We gotta get into the blood, the guts, and the gory bits. We gotta get into my kill of the film. Stick around. The Burning is bloody as fuck, and there are plenty of reasons why I love this movie, but that is definitely one of them. Obviously, you know, we have Tom Savini at the helm of the special effects for this movie. Tom Savini, no stranger to Days of Darkness, not the man himself. I'm sure he does not even know I exist. But his artwork and just the influence he has had on the horror genre is not lost on me and is not lost on the DoD family. And The Burning is no exception, man. Some great shit here, dude. There are some kills that aren't necessarily going to light the world on fire. Like Cropsy probably would have liked to, but there are some duds here and there. You know, Sally just kind of getting found in the sleeping bag. It's like, okay, cool. You know, Karen getting her throat slashed in the woods. While it's, you know, it's a good, memorable kill, but it's just, you know, it's not really going to light the world on fire here on DoD. But that being said, man, we get some fucking really brutal shit here, man. Most notably for me, we already talked about Cropsy getting that axe just slammed right into his fucking face. Amazing shit. Obviously, Tom Savini is not a stranger to having axes go in people's faces with Friday the 13th and stuff like that. And man, honestly, I would put this one above. I don't know about Final Chapter with Jason getting the machete in the side of the head. That's kind of a toss-up. But this one was fucking brutal, dude. It was really good. We have the hooker / sex worker, whatever you want to say, getting just stabbed with this pair of scissors, and again, just seeing him fucking wiggle that shit around in there. I'm like, oh, god damn. It's like, again, it's not the most impactful shit in the world, but it's just fucking brutal. You know, he's strangling her and shit, and he just throws her out of a fucking window. It's like, okay. And that's like the first kill of the film. So it's like, all right, this motherfucker ain't playing around at all. But Glazer getting, you know, that awesome fucking scene where Cropsy just, rams those garden shears right through his neck, dude. Like, right through his neck. And it just carries him very quickly, almost cartoonishly, but carries him towards this tree and just, Michael Myers style, just pins him to this fucking tree and he's just hanging there. And you get that shot where it actually goes into the fucking tree. Again, awesome shit, man. Really, really good stuff there. And a fitting death for a dickhead. Fuck Glazer. What an asshole. That being said, I am not on Team Alfie at all because he's a fucking weirdo. But yeah, man, really good stuff here. But at the end of the day, I have to give Kill of the Film to The Raft. How the fuck could I not, man? Absolutely fucking killer stuff here, dude. Really, really good. If I have to really narrow it down, because obviously 5 people do die on The Raft, I'll have to give it to Eddie getting the fucking, getting the garden shears right into it. Like, it's such a weird angle. It's like he's sitting down and these fucking shears just go right into his neck, like downwards. It's like, oh god. And he just pearls up all his blood. It's like, holy shit. That's easily got to be Kill of the Film just because it's so fucking memorable. Obviously, there's other really good gory bits going on in that raft. Woodstock getting his fucking fingers chopped off, and that one girl getting her fucking dome split open, and all sorts of crazy shit going on the raft. Easily my favorite scene of the whole movie, and it's definitely going to be my Kill of the Film. Guys, thank you as always for stopping by. Thank you for supporting the dream. Sorry I disappeared there for a little hot second. Real life duties call sometimes, and we gotta address those things, but it is not lost on me, and I am extremely grateful for, I think we're now at 134 subscribers, so growing every day. Cannot thank you guys enough, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. And all that corny shit out of the way. Next time on Days of Darkness, we are going to be continuing the Purge series when we watch The Purge Election Year. Very curious to see that. Again, only seen it once. I remember pretty much nothing about it. So I'm very, very curious to see what goes on there. But until then, guys, like I said, repeating myself, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for supporting the dream. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And for the love of all things gory, keep watching horror. All right, guys. Have a good day.